good afternoon. So, as I said, my name is Šisler, and I will talk about the video game series or educational video game we developed called Czechoslovakia 3889, particularly about the design and implementation challenges we had in developing this game and implementing it in schools. So, it's actually it's a narrative-based single-player adventure game for high school students, and maybe before talking about the challenges and design and implementation, I'll actually show you a short gameplay video from the game.
To mám dost. Já ti dám bábovku a čaj. Ona nám to stěhování neuteče. Ne, to nevyhazuj, to jsme s dědou poslouchali, než ho odvedl do gestapo, nevyhazuj.
Dnes, 27. května, asi v 10 hodin 30 minut byl spáchán atentát na zastupujícího říšského protektora a generála policie SS Obergruppenführera Reinharda Heinricha. Zastupující říšský protektor projížděl svým autem směrem z Panevických Břežan v městské části Stará Libeň a právě chtěl odbočit do ulice v Holešovičkách. Chtěl s rychlou třídou v ulici v Holešovičkách směrem
Co po mně chcete? Věděl jsem, že se nám Němci krutě pomstí. Že tohle odskáče spousta nevinných lidí. Nejhorší ze všeho byl ten všudy přítomný živočišný strach. Tisíce německých vojáků, SSáků prohlíželi dům od domu. Najednou jsem si uvědomil, že mám doma spoustu nebezpečných věcí. Kdyby je u mě SSáci našli, putoval bych okamžitě před popravčí četu.
Okay, so as you saw, it's essentially a single-player adventure game, which is based on it's a dialogue-based. It's based on narrative, and it combines interactive comics with video interviews and with animated minigames. The target audience of the game are high school students from 14 to 19 years old, and the main educational goal, or the main aim of the game, or educational simulation as we call it, is to present key events from contemporary history and to enable students to experience these events from different actors' perspective, or from the personal subjective perspective of different individuals. And by doing so, we aim to develop a deeper understanding of the complex and multifaceted political, social, and cultural aspects of this time period. The game has been created by Charles University in Prague in collaboration with the Institute of Contemporary History from the Academy of Sciences. And there are several, while, as I said, the main, as you saw the game is mainly based on actually questioning people. It's mainly based on doing interviews and choosing about what you ask and how you frame your questions, and depending on how you ask, you get different answers, which all of them, in this module, which is about Second World War, we combine 9 different actors, and each of them presents radically, or could present radically different interpretation of the events. We, from the beginning, faced with various, let's say, challenges and design issues when we've been dealing with the game. The first, of course, is authenticity. Jan Bogost actually claimed as early as in 2008 that if there is something as documentary games or like a subgenre of serious games, they should be based on rule-based representations which maintains congruence with the real-world conditions. So essentially, which simulations which enable you to replay or relive the actual events. And of course, when we talked with the historians from the Academy of Science about that, they didn't like the idea that you can change history, or that you can, that, for example, if you play the game, you can learn that Rainer Heydrich was not assassinated, etc. So we actually came to like a model of design where we actually used real testimonies of eyewitnesses from the time period, but we didn't adapt them in a literal fashion. So oftentimes we constructed characters, but these characters are actually based on real testimonies we have, but they are played by actors because oftentimes the real actors don't live anymore. And you actually can't change what exactly happened in the history. You play the game in the present, and there is like a meta story. For example, in this module, you are investigating why your granddad has been taken by the Gestapo, because no one in the family actually talks about or knows why it happened. So you are investigating it through memories of his friends, of his collaborators, of his family members, and from historical materials like diaries, real authentic materials like daily newspapers, radio broadcasting, etc., etc. Important thing is that, as I said, the history is set. It happened in a certain way. What your gameplay changes is how the people frame the history or how they interpret it. So it's not only that each person gives you a different account of the history and different interpretation, but depending on how you ask, they can actually frame it differently. So we deliberately. So there's actually another like focus point of the simulation, and that's the concept of multi-perspectivity. So as I said, we deliberately use subjective testimonies, and we wanted to show the diversified historical experiences of various segments of the population, including, let's say, voices which are not really represented or are underrepresented in the mainstream history education. So oftentimes we have, as you saw, for example, you can talk with a journalist who worked for the protectorate during Nazi occupation and wrote pro-Nazi article, and you can talk about him, why he did, etc. And of course, the way he frames his own role and his own involvement is very subjective. The issue of marginalized voices is particularly important for us. So we include, when we did the module about the post-war period, we included the memories of the German-speaking citizens of Czechoslovakia expelled from Czechoslovakia. We are including memories of the Czechs from Volyn, from Ukraine, who migrated to Czech Republic, and they are not really represented, etc., etc. We integrate Roma memories of the war. So as I said, you have multifaceted experiences and actors. First, is both aim and challenge, is the notion of constructivism. The Czech history education, and I would say to a certain extent it could be the Central European history education, is fundamentally based on knowledge acquisition and learning of facts. So there's extensive knowledge, and then retrieval of facts, particular dates and events, so-called large history. So we wanted to actually not to challenge that, but to additionally expand this kind of fact-based and heavy knowledge-based education by providing, as I said, the subjective stories. So to speak, to connect the large history, the large overarching history, with the small histories, and to show the contexts in which the actors did certain decisions, or lived through certain times. So fundamental point or departing point of our game is that history is not a closed past nor a collection of events and definite conclusions, but rather a platform for questions to be asked. And that's important educational aspect of the game. The game is, when it's played in schools, there is always teacher present, and the teacher serves as a tutor. He or she manages the game and contextualizes or decontextualizes the knowledge and the stories presented in the game to the students. So the particular aim of the game is to let's say enable students to develop a critical approach towards testimonies, towards sources of facts, and to enable them to evaluate and to critically assess various sources. The game is equipped with a large, extensive encyclopedia written by the historians from the Academy of Sciences. But again, the main goal of the game is not to teach you facts and not to teach you factual knowledge, because there are more straightforward tools how to do that, and we know that. So again, the in-class methodology how to use the game and the discussions the game triggers are a really important part of the whole project. And again, that's sort of a challenge, because until recently this not has really been something common in Czech high school education. I mean, we still, even though there is a curricular reform which puts forward emphasis on critical evaluation, etc., there are not that many tools and approaches, and the adaptation is still kind of, I would say, problematic, and still the kind of knowledge-based frontal education prevails. So we wanted to provide teachers with alternative tool, or with one among many possible tools how to engage the students in critically evaluating the past. The game, as I said, features authentic material. There is a focus on the everyday life. So the game features thousands of everyday objects, from the ration coupons from the war to various family albums, to transportation, music, cinema, and literature. So through the game, you can put your hands on literally thousands of objects of daily life with personal commentaries and of the actors who use them. Contestation. As I said, it's kind of clear that there are various levels of contestation. One is the teacher used, or there's the traditional learning framework where you have this frontal education. Not only the teachers are used to it, but to a large extent the students actually expect it. So the students are sort of conservative when it comes to alternative uses of teaching. So this is something we have to be really careful in providing both the teachers and the students with very meaningful frame how to use the game and what is the benefit, what is the take home message, take home information you get from the game. And just from the beginning, so we collaborated both with teachers, students, and educationalists on preparing the game methodology. Then, of course, there are various contested issues, like historical issues, as I said, which includes the explosion, issues which are till today, let's say, contested or hotly debated in Czech contemporary history. The expulsion of German-speaking citizens, the treatment of the Roma population during the war and after war, all the collaboration with the communist regime after 1968. When we are presenting memories dealing with these issues, we really carefully made sure that we have various groups of historians with various and multifaceted perspectives on these issues who collaborate or somehow contest on creating or choosing or selecting, because the key question if you do simulation is what you select, you know, what aspects of the real history you select, which voices you select and which not. So we had like really more than 7 historians working on the game. So the game is almost ready. It's like we are in the final testing phase. We evaluated the games already in more than 18 high school classes, and more 17 high school classes actually will start evaluating it in a pilot testing next week. To wrap it up, we published some report already actually in the Masaryk University Journal of Law and Technology. To wrap it up, the acceptance of the game as a learning tool is generally overwhelmingly positive from both students and teachers. They subjectively perceive it as a tool fulfilling its goals. They appreciate the methodology, particularly the aspect that it enables them to it helps them to see the history or to see things unfolding and kind of understand the multifaceted aspects of it. Important thing is that as for today, we have only self-reported data, so the students self-reported learning gains. We are still testing the actual learning gains, which is by no means easy thing to do, and it will take kind of like a long time. But we have methodology how to do that from previous projects. So that's the game will be distributed for free to Czech high schools, to all the teachers who would like to use it. And of course, we expect, like, let's say, more avant-garde teachers to opt for it, because it's kind of not something we expect to be on a massive scale. And the game should be available to public. There should be a public version, basically stripped out of the didactical materials as a pure, like, let's say, popularizing adventure interactive story, which should be available to public. Final thing, it's actually a pleasure to announce just today on my way to Brno, I actually got a message from the organizers of CEEGS Game Showcase and Challenge in Orlando, Florida, that we are nominated as finalists for the 2014 show. So we are really looking forward to compete in the government category for the best serious game of 2014. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I'm open to your question.